What is better, to be born good or to overcome your evil nature through great effort? This single question from the dragon Parthenax perfectly captures the brutal, complex, and fascinating history of his entire race. They were once God King, then hunted to extinction, only to be resurrected by a leader who forsook his own divine purpose for the sake of power. Hi, my name is Jason. I'm a fantasy author building my own new mythology, and I believe the best stories are built on questions like this. On this channel, we explore the lore of my favorite franchises that truly master the craft, and today we're examining that history of tyranny, betrayal, and redemption by covering the complete lore of Skyrim's dragons. Now, dragons aren't native to the world of men. They are echoes of the divine, born from the very fabric of time itself. They call themselves the Dove, the children of Akatosh, the dragon god of time. They see themselves not just as his creations, but as literal extensions of his being. This isn't arrogant. It's essentially their reality. Dragons don't experience time like we do. They are uniquely attuned to its flow. And they don't age, they don't wither, and they don't die unless violently killed. Their very existence is essentially a reflection of their father's eternal, unyielding nature. Now, this divine heritage grants them a power far beyond mortal magic or steel, the Thu'um, or the voice. For a dragon, to speak is not just to communicate, it is to impose one's will on reality itself. When a dragon shouts, the world has little choice but to obey, and their language, Dovazul, is a force of nature. In their world, power is true. Their superiority isn't a belief, it's an ontological fact proven by their ability to bend reality to their will. But they didn't originate in Tamriel. Ancient records suggest that they first came from the eastern continent of Akavir. Why they left is a bit of a mystery, though some claim they were, to put it politely, getting their butts handed to them, and decided a change of scenery was in order. By the time the first human settlers arrived in Skyrim from Atmora, the dragons had already established themselves as the dominant power, soaring over a world that would soon learn to fear them as gods. When the first Admorans settled in Skyrim, they worshipped a pantheon of animal totems, like the hawk, the wolf, and the bear. The dragon was chief among them, but still just one of many. That all changed. The dragons, led by the most powerful of their kind, Alduin, firstborn of Akatosh, decided they weren't content being mere symbols. They were gods, and they demanded to be worshipped as such. And this was the birth of the dragon cult. At first, the arrangement was stable. The dragons established an order enforced by their chosen mortal servants, the dragon priests, and these priests were granted immense power, ruling holds across Skyrim in their masters' names, from the grand capital city of Bromjanar, and they laid down laws and collected tribute, keeping a harsh but ordered peace. In return for their loyalty, the most faithful priests received powerful artifacts, including magical masks forged by the dragons themselves, and some were even granted a form of immortality, becoming undying liches. But Alduin's ambition corrupted this system. He was created to be the World Eater, a cosmic force, meant to bring about the end of one cycle so a new one could begin. Instead, he grew to enjoy ruling the current one. He and his kin embraced their roles as god kings with a little too much enthusiasm. The rule of the dragon priests became an iron fist. Worship of other gods was forbidden. The demand for tribute grew, and any who rebelled were met with swift and brutal annihilation. The dragon's innate desire for domination, a trait inherent from the god of time himself, had finally curled into pure tyranny. A rebellion was no longer just possible, it was inevitable. Now, by the way, I don't allow sponsors, affiliates, or ads in the middle of these videos because we're completely self-funded. I do, however, have one thing I think you'll like though, and that's my fantasy all-access library. It's where you can get all of my fantasy books that my team and I have written. For instance, this is my version of the Sword and the Stone myth, along with a couple of other short stories all bound together in one. You get this and the audiobook for this, and just like 20 plus more books inside of that group. So I'd invite you to check it out. We also do a lot of live calls in there and stuff, and it's how I fund this channel. So check the link if you're interested. The breaking point came not from man, but from a dragon, Parthenax, Alduin's own brother and trusted lieutenant, who had a crisis of faith. He looked at Alduin's claim of godhood and declared it false. This was heresy. For a being whose reality is defined by power, to question the ultimate power was a profound act of rebellion. And according to Nord legend, the goddess Kyne saw this and guided Parthenax to the side of mortals, giving them a fighting chance. But a chance wasn't enough. Humans needed a weapon, so Parthenax gave them one. He taught them the Thu'um. He gifted mortals the dragon's own reality-bending power. The first to master this new weapon were 3 Nord heroes, Gormlaith, Golden Hilt, a warrior of immense skill, Hakon One Eye, a fierce combatant, and Feldir the Old, a wise and thoughtful leader. They became the first tongues, mortals who could wield the voice. Even with this power, however, a dragon in the sky is almost impossible to fight. They couldn't just match the dragon's power, they needed to subvert it. And united by their hatred and desperation, the three heroes created a new shout. One born not of divine will, but of pure mortal defiance. Dragonrend. This shout didn't burn or freeze, it did something far more profound. It forced the concept of mortality onto the timeless minds of the dragons. For a brief, terrifying moment, a god being was forced to understand its own finite existence, grounding it and making it vulnerable. The playing field was finally level. The war culminated in a legendary battle at the throat of the world, the highest peak in Tamriel. The three Nord heroes faced Alduin himself. The fight itself was cataclysmic. Gormlaith and Hakon were slain, leaving only Feldir the Old standing against the World Eater. Realizing he could not kill a being like Alduin, Feldir turned to a weapon of last resort, an Elder Scroll. These artifacts are fragments of creation itself existing outside of time. Wielding its incomprehensible power, Feldir didn't kill Alduin. Instead, he ripped him from the timeline, casting him forward into the future and leaving a literal time wound on the mountain peak. So Alduin wasn't dead, merely delayed. With their leader gone, the dragon forces broke. The Nords, now empowered by the Thu'um and their victory, began a systematic hunt. The age of dragons was over, their temples were abandoned, their names faded into myth, and the dragon cult was purged. The last holdouts, like the priest Ragot and Forohost, chose mass suicide with their followers rather than surrender to the new age of man. The remaining dragons fled into hiding in the deepest corners of the world, awaiting the day their king would inevitably return. The dragons were gone, but their legacy remained in a strange and powerful form, the dragonborn. A dragonborn, or Dovahkiin, is a mortal born with the soul of a dragon. This is a gift or perhaps a curse bestowed by Akatosh himself, and it grants them an innate ability to master the Thu'um. Where others train for decades to learn a single word of power, a dragonborn absorbs this knowledge instantly by consuming the soul of a slain dragon. To dragons, this is terrifying. A dragonborn isn't just a hunter, they are a devourer of their very essence, a being that can permanently erase them from the eternal cycle. History is punctuated by these rare individuals. The first was Mirak, a dragon priest who betrayed his masters for forbidden knowledge. Later, Riemann Cyrodiil was recognized as Dragonborn, and the Akaviri dragon hunters who came to kill him knelt and became his personal guard, the ancestors of the Blades. His bloodline, and later the Septon dynasty, sat on the imperial throne, their Dragonborn nature serving as a seal that protected the world from the demonic planes of oblivion. But with the end of the Septon line, that protection was broken and the title of Dragonborn faded back into legend. An ancient prophecy foretold Alduin's return. It spoke of a time when the world would be in chaos, when a ruler born of dragons lost his throne, and when Skyrim lay kingless and bleeding from civil war. In the Fourth Era, as the Stormcloaks and the Empire tore the province apart, the prophecy came to pass. Alduin erupted from the time wound at the throat of the world, his purpose no longer conquest, but his original terrible function, to end the world. His first act was to descend upon the village of Helgen, right as the nameless prisoner was about to be executed. That prisoner, of course, was the last Dragonborn that you get to play when you play in Skyrim. Alduin's return triggered the resurrection of his buried brethren. All across Skyrim, ancient dragons clawed their way out of the burial mounds, their roars once again striking terror into the heart of mortals. The last Dragonborn, guided by prophecies and the shouts of the ancient Greybeards, was the only one who could stand against him. To defeat Alduin, the hero had to learn the Dragonrend shout. And to do that, they used an Elder Scroll to look back through the time wound itself and witness the original battle. After fighting Alduin at the throat of the world and forcing him to retreat, the Dragonborn, with the help of Alduin's former ally, Odahviing, traveled to the Nordic afterlife of Sovngarde. There, Alduin was found feasting on the souls of dead heroes to regain his strength. Alongside the three legendary heroes who first banished him, the last Dragonborn finally defeated the World Eater. But unlike other dragons, Alduin's soul was not absorbed. He simply disintegrated, his essence scattered. He wasn't destroyed, merely defeated, and the cycle was broken, but perhaps only for a time. The story of the dragons forces us to confront some deep philosophical questions, which the lore itself acknowledges through its own scholars and characters. Alduin's role as the World Eater isn't inherently evil, it's more of a necessary part of the cosmic cycle, like a forest fire clearing the way for new growth. His true flaw wasn't destruction, but ambition, and he abandoned his grand purpose for the petty desire to rule, which is what made him a tyrant and a villain. In-game sources suggest this reframing is what allowed Nords to continue revering Akatosh, the dragon god, while utterly rejecting Alduin. They saw him as having acted against his father's will. Now this brings us back to Paarthurnax and his question. He admits to committing atrocities in Alduin's name, but he chose to overcome his nature. He dedicated millennia to meditation and teaching a pacifist philosophy of the voice, known as the Way of the Voice, to the Greybeards. He embodies the idea of redemption, and the Blades, the sworn dragon slayers, see only his past crimes and demand his death. They argue a dragon's nature is immutable. The choice to spare or slay him isn't just a game mechanic, it's the core thematic question of the entire story. Can true change exist, even for a being whose name literally translates to ambition overlord cruelty? The dragons are without their leader now. Some, like Paarthurnax, seek peace. Others, like Odahviing, respect power and ally themselves with the strongest, and many more still roam the skies, wild and untethered from prophecy, their future unwritten for the first time in history. The cycle of destruction and rebirth has been interrupted, and what that truly means for the world, no one knows. The lore of the Elder Scrolls is filled with these kinds of stories, deep, complex myths that ask us to think about power and choice. It's that kind of world building that inspired me to create my own, and if you enjoy diving into rich mythologies like this one, I think you'll really enjoy what we're building in my school group. It's a community where you get access to everything I create. That includes weekly live calls with me, the complete ebook and audiobook libraries of all my novels, and at least one new book release every single month. We're building a massive fantasy universe where all of Earth's mythologies coexist, and this is your all-access pass to be a part of it from the ground up. It's the best way to support this channel and get a ton of great stories in return. The link is in the description below.